shavings coming off in my hand because the ignition itself has been sawed at and there's metal shavings coming off of it. And I look at my girl and I'm like, dude, someone tried to steal the van. So I left the vehicle waiting for her where it needed to be with the screwdriver, the lighter fluid, and step-by-step instructions as to how to hotwire her own van. Climb into
Hi, I'm Sterling. Welcome to my channel. It's all about the exploratory, and I'm really big on sharing stories. Subscribe for good vibes.
Hi guys, welcome back to the Story Corner. If you've been here before, you know that means that we're
about to get real.
And if you're new to this channel,
welcome. I like to tell stories, and today is the topic of
road dog life, which is one that we cover quite often here, among other stories about festivals and travel tips, etc.
etc. Really awesome things. Check out some of the other videos on the channel.
At the end of this video, I have a gift for you. It's a road trip tips and tricks checklist. Try to say that 10 times fast. Road trip tips and tricks checklist. And maybe one day I'll come up with a different name for that that's a little easier to say. But either way, if you or someone you adore is thinking about hitting the road and you want to do it in style, safely, and have the full capacity to have the most amazing time that you possibly can, please take it from me and my many years of experience. There's some things that you just can't do without and some things you should really avoid. So if you're interested in that checklist, the link is in the description box down below. And without further ado, let's get into the story. So this happened a few festival seasons ago, and I know that that's sort of an ambiguous time period for those of you that do go to festivals and for those of you that don't.
Oftentimes festival season is spring through fall, wherever you are, the reality is that festivals are going on all year round, all over the world. So when you're living festival life 24/7, like I have at certain times in the past, festival season never really ends.
But this one in particular was festival season in the Northwest Hemisphere, where I grew up on the west coast of North America, and this particular festival actually was going on in the area that I grew up, on the same grounds where I used to go as a kid to the rodeo. And I have a couple other story times that talk about this same festival and also the rodeo that used to happen there, so I will link those in the description box down below. This story takes place following the festival that happened on those grounds, which was called Once Upon a Festival, and it actually no longer occurs. It was a really fun pirate Neverland themed festival.
Bunch of crazy naked acid heads running around in the middle of summer.
At that festival, I was working with a bunch of my really close girlfriends.
And we were running a zone for people to come and kick it, cool off, get massages, eat, chill, lay down on some pillows, get spritzed with rose water under the misters, out of the sun, and
stay safe and take that mellow time that you really need to fully survive and thrive in a weekend-long festival atmosphere. So we got there early and we stayed late because we were setting up and tearing down, and that's just festival life behind the scenes. It actually lasts longer than just a weekend. And at this particular festival, I sustained a series of injuries. That's a whole different story time. But either way, at the end of this festival, I wasn't at my full capacity. I had been planning to hitchhike home from the festival, home, like to the home that I grew up in, where I hadn't been in a very long time. I was gonna go home for the first time. But because I had sustained these injuries, I couldn't really do that. The festival didn't end the way that I wanted it to, and I was sort of beat up and broken. So I got a ride with some of my girlfriends to where it was that they were going, a few hours away. I rode in my homegirl's van, super awesome, totally kitted out, old Chevy van that just like beautiful, that she'd been living in since I met her. We get to where we're going, because I was so out of it, I didn't remember putting my backpack into the van before we left the festival, because I was that injured that I couldn't actually like lift my heavy backpack from the ground and carry it and put it into the van. And I was so out of it that I didn't know whether my backpack had made it into the van or not. And I started freaking out because we're at our final destination 3 hours away from where the festival was, and I don't remember getting my backpack, and I don't see my backpack, and it has everything that I need in it. And I have a little conniption fit until finally my homegirl that I was rolling with let me know,
dude, like, I got you. I got your backpack. It's in the van. It's in the back of the van. No worries.
And I was like, oh, thank goodness. Like, that had everything that I needed in it. And stuff like that just gets swooped up at the end of festivals. But my girl had my back because she's amazing like that. And she's ride or die. And that was fantastic. As events would have it, over the next couple days, she, same girl, was getting ready to go to the East Coast to do a badass dance camp because she's a badass dancer. And she got this amazing internship, intensive dance camp position. And she was flying. She wasn't taking her van. And I was without a vehicle at all. I had just got back from hitchhiking around Central America with my girl Red Hot, and we were talking about having some pretty epic adventures over the summer, and we were in need of a vehicle. And so we offered to rent the vehicle from our girl that was about to go to the East Coast, and she was down. And it was so exciting, so I drop her at the airport. Now I've got this amazing kitted out Chevy van, waves and dolphins on it. And she was, what was her name? The van was called Big Sexy Happy. That was the name of the van. So we have Big Sexy Happy. I pick up my girl Red Hawk, and we're rolling around, and we go to the hills outside of Oakland, the Bay Area of California. I mean, you've probably heard of Oakland, but if you haven't, it's this really amazing, very vibrant city that runs the whole gentrification spectrum from like
super ghetto, hood, danger zone
to like
really high end.
And all of the amazing artistry and creativity that happens in between. So it's a really vibrant place. It's really intense also. A lot of my friend circle exists there periodically throughout the year. And I have one friend that grew up in the hills outside of Oakland, which are
well-to-do, not as urban. The hills are pretty steep, the houses are nice.
It's removed from the city, but you can get into the city pretty quick when you drive down. So me and Red Hawk, we roll up in the Big Sexy Happy, and we park outside of our girl's house. We're gonna stay the night with her. It's this really nice neighborhood, miles and miles outside of the city, up these steep hills into these beautiful woods, gorgeous redwoods, sequoias, and eucalyptus trees. It feels like a fairy forest with some really awesome postmodern architectural houses perched on stilts on these super steep hills. So we get there and we're kicking it with our girl, and we're in her little hill house, and the van's parked up the road, and I just bring my little backpack with my computer in, and I leave everything else in the van because we're living out of this van now, and we're staying with her for the night, and then we're gonna go our separate ways. Red Hawk's got her mission, and I'm really looking forward to spending the weekend with all my best friends from college who have a yearly reunion, and I've been out of the country for almost every single reunion up until that point, so it's been since I got together with these people. It's been a long time since I actually made it to one of the reunions. So I'm super excited. We overnight at our girl's house, and the next day we're raring to go, and I'm gonna drop Red Hawk off at her homegirl's house, and then I'm gonna head out to this reunion further up on the coast. And I climb into the van and go to stick the key in the ignition, and something weird is going on. It's a little weird. The steering wheel is at a different angle. Something's wrong. There's little metal shavings coming off in my hand. I lift the steering wheel up, and it just rocks back. Something's wrong with the way that it's hinging, so I start to investigate further, and there's all of these colored wires exposed under the steering column that I don't remember being there before. And I don't know exactly why. They definitely, or at least I think they weren't there before, but I've only been driving the van for a couple days. I'm not completely sure. If you've ever been in a big old Chevy van, there's a lot of space. You sit on this big captain chair, and there's a lot of space for your legs, and there's this big console in front of you and a big steering wheel. It's like, it feels kind of like driving a bus. Says the girl who's never driven a bus before. Anyways, so I start investigating closer, and there's metal shavings, corkscrewed metal shavings on the ground around my feet. And I realized the key's not working in the ignition because the ignition itself has been sawed at, and maybe some sort of screwdriver taken to it, and there's metal shavings coming off of it. And I look at my girl and I'm like,
dude, someone was messing with the van. Someone tried to steal the van. Whoa! Oh my gosh, I can't believe this.
and we start looking at it, we're like,
Well, what do? The key won't work. We can't turn the van on.
So we get out and look around. It doesn't look like very much has been disturbed. This van is set up to live in, so my girl's got shelves and a little fridge, everything that you need. Chairs, bed, clothing hanging, decorations. It's pretty full, and none of that stuff has been messed with. There's cables, auxiliary cords and whatnot in the center console, and none of that stuff has been messed with. So it doesn't look like the van got broken into to get robbed. The van got broken into because someone was trying to steal it, but we had locked the doors. So we started walking around the van on the outside, and on the side window, those little windows that just pop out a couple inches, it looked like someone had stuck a metal bar along it and popped it open and reached the lock that way and just opened the door and come in.
Oh, wow, what do we do?
We walk down to our homegirl's house, and I start calling around trying to figure out,
Do we need an entire new starter?
I'm calling different locksmiths and finding out if they have a service where they come and deal with vehicles, because only we can get the vehicle to them. That's gonna cost $300 or $400, and it's a Friday afternoon, so they're not even gonna get there for multiple hours, and a lot of them are closed. We're highly concerned. And my girl, who lived right there, her parents actually lived in another house down the hill, and her dad was an inventor. He was a smart guy. So she called him up and she's like, Dad, something weird happened. Someone tried to steal the van. So he comes up the hill to us. It turns out that even though we were in a really nice, affluent, comfortable, safe-feeling neighborhood, things actually got broken into and stolen a lot on that street because hood rats would come from the city down below to the nicer neighborhoods. They're not gonna steal from other people, poor people in the hood. They're gonna come to the nice neighborhoods and jack shit. So there was actually a van that looked just like that one that had been stolen from their neighbors a few months before, literally less than half a block from where we had parked it. Turns out those kinds of vans had been jacked before. The people took it for a joyride. They found it a few days later at a dump, totally trashed with trash inside of it. And so I'm just like thanking my lucky stars that my girl's van didn't get jacked while in my possession, but at the same time,
Oh my gosh, the key won't work. I can't start it. I can't get anywhere. And I'm really trying to be at this reunion with my homies, but also I don't want to be responsible for ruining my girl's van.
it's not just her vehicle, it's also her home. That's a big deal.
I've only had it for 2 days. Oh, not good.
So, my girlfriend who lived there had her father come up and he starts talking to us, and he's an inventor, he's a smart guy. So he's like, all right, well, let's figure this out. So I climb in the car with him. He's got a couple tools. He's got a screwdriver. He's got a few things that he's playing around with. And he's like, all right, so obviously they tried to HOTWIRE this. That's why they broke the plastic panel. That's why the wires are hanging out. That's why they were screwing into the slot where the key goes in the starter, because they were trying to get that little push action to get the starter to turn over and to get the wires to ignite, so the ignition would be like, boom, go, vehicle. But what they didn't realize, or what we're assuming they didn't realize, was that this van was a diesel. So it has glow plugs. So
Diesels don't actually start right away when you turn the key. You can't just crank them and start them. That does a lot of damage to the engine. You have to put them into auxiliary mode, step the key up once, wait for the glow plugs to get warm enough so that the compression of the engine all pulls together, and then you turn it the rest way and start it.
And it seems like these hood rats that were trying to jack the van didn't understand how diesel engines work, thank goodness, because they weren't able to bypass that system. So my girl's dad shows me how. We have to figure it out. He's like not exactly sure how to do it at first. But we figure out that with a flathead screwdriver, I can kind of get that going. I can like turn the key once, get the glow plugs on, and then get it going. And then we're off. The van is amazing, and we're cruising down the road. We figure out that with a flathead screwdriver, I can kind of get that going. I can like turn the key once, get the glow plugs on, and then get it going. We're off. The van is amazing, and we're cruising down the road. I go to my reunion, And while I'm there, I'm staying in the van, and my homies have a rental house, and I'm staying down the hill. But at this point, I'm a little bit of an urchin at this point. So I was wearing the same clothes like a few days in a row, no big deal, not like super scrubby or anything. Just, it's a cute outfit. Why not recycle it, right? I'm with a different group of friends, so I'm just gonna wear the same outfit. Anyways, I get to the point a day or two into the weekend where I want to change my clothes. So I go down to the van and I'm looking for my clothes so I can change my clothes, and I look all throughout the van and I realize I can't change my clothes because my backpack is gone. Yeah, the very same backpack that I had worried earlier that week I had lost by leaving at the festival was now actually stolen by the hood rats that couldn't properly steal the van. So yeah, there goes all my clothes, all my favorite worldly possessions, my best essentials, my camera, my iPod, everything of value that I felt I wanted bad enough to carry with me as a little urchin, the world's tiniest hobo, gone. So, that was a little heartbreaking. Having had the premonition that I was going to lose the backpack also was really interesting, but I had to deal with it, obviously. And by the end of the weekend, because the van had been staying with the screwdriver in it in partial auxiliary mode so that I could keep driving it, the battery had died. And I had to have my homies rescue me and jump the battery, and then I drive it north and over a couple mountains to the next place I have to be. So I get the van safely to my family's ranch and realize that my grandiose dreams of amazing summer adventures I was going to have in this epic van were probably not going to unfold as I had planned because of these particular setbacks. So I end up leaving the van there, and my sister, who is the most awesome person in the world, actually gave me another vehicle. So I ended up having a car, and I ended up going all sorts of places across the country, etc., for the next few months. But then the end of the summer came. My homegirl, who actually owned Big Happy Sexy, was coming back to the West Coast, and I needed to get there to get her van to her so that she could move back into it and drive it around. And I hadn't figured out how to address the issue of the calamitous attempted robbery and what had happened to the vehicle. So I go back up to the ranch and I try to start the van using the same little screwdriver hack that the inventor had shown me, and it doesn't work, and I'm highly concerned. Luckily, now though, I'm in the neck of the woods where people understand how diesel engines work, and so I hit up a homie who just so happens to live a few miles down the road, and he comes out and lets me know that the problem now is an issue with said glow plugs that were the saving grace that kept the van from getting towed away before, and what I would need to do would be successfully hot wire the car in a more intricate manner than I had been, just to get it back to its owner. So he showed me how.
Thank goodness. Thank heavens once again for rednecks. He showed me how, using some
lighter fluid sprayed into the intake, I could heat the glow plugs or get the spark going. Well, there's no actual spark, but I could get the situation temperature-wise that the engine needed to fully function. I got the van started, and I got it down out of the mountains and into the city to the spot that my girl needed to pick it up, but she wasn't there yet, and I had to continue on my way on this particular mission that I was on. So I left the vehicle waiting for her where it needed to be with the screwdriver, the lighter fluid, and step-by-step instructions as to how to hotwire her own van. I was just really hoping like this girl who's done so much for me and was like such a ride or die babe, super friend, was not gonna be completely pissed that in my care her home, Big Happy Sexy, had sustained so much damage. It turns out, not only was she not upset, she was totally stoked about getting to learn how to hotwire her van, and also gave me mad props because
the sexiest thing in the world for a lady to know how to hotwire a van.
And actually, I was sent a video from her and our other girl that she was with when they successfully hotwired the van, telling me thank you. And if I can find that video, I will post it here. Now that is the story of how I learned to hotwire a van. It's a necessary skill, though that won't necessarily be included on this first volume of road trip tips and tricks checklist. If you're interested in getting the checklist, you can follow the link down below, and I have many other story times about life on the road and the adventures that I have with the motley crew of people that I love hanging out with, so check them out on this channel.
Thanks for making space in your brain for this video. Hit the thumbs up, share it with someone you care for, subscribe for good vibes, ring that bell to be notified every time I upload a new video. Leave a comment down below. You can come find me on social media at Sterling Mariah or tap into the mainframe at www.sterlingmariah.com.